This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It is Jake, your host. Today's episode, we are at the Wellness Way in Suwanee, Georgia, speaking with Dr. Hyatt. In today's conversation, you're going to hear about some things you may have never heard about in terms of ways to get yourself feeling better, functioning better, and embracing a better quality of life, which, by the way, will translate into a much happier life for you once you feel better. We all know inherently when we feel our best, we have the best outlook on life. We get to do more things, which creates more positive memories and experiences, and all sorts of good things can happen as the outfall of that. And a lot of times we don't realize that the underlying thing that predicates all of those dominoes falling is how we feel and how our bodies are functioning. So this episode is going to take you down a little bit of those things. It is not exhaustive in our conversation because we just didn't have the time. But what I can tell you is I would venture to say 9 out of 10 people that go the route of a non-traditional medical practice in helping them feel better, recover from things, treat things, it is because, and our family is one of those families, we have exhausted all other options. You have been to the specialists, you have been to the special centers, you have had the conversations with everybody, and nothing works, or the things that, quote, do work take a serious toll on other parts of your bodies or other life functions. And if I can offer some encouragement to those of you who have not gone down this route, it will change your life in a very, very good way. And an insurance company who does not know you, does not frankly really care about your well-being, will not be the party that dictates to you how well you feel, how fully you'll recover, or what your life will be like both in longevity and quality of life going forward. And that was one of those things that we just had to get our arms around when we started this process of, if we're healthy, we will save money doing more expensive things than being on, the eternal copays or the eternal prescription policies or those sorts of things. There is a trade-off there, and for a lot of people, that is a difficult hill to get over initially. But once you're on the other side, can I promise you, it will be worth it. It will be worth it. Don't ever give up. If you need some encouragement, you want some experiential history from somebody who's been through it. My wife and I and some friends of ours that have gone through very similar things in their health, both from adult issues as well as issues with their children. You start getting outside of the traditional American medicine answers and prescriptions to everything, and honestly, you start hearing the same things over and over and over and over and over again from completely different people. No collusion, no correspondence with each other. Everybody just seems to have the same experience with a lot of these same things that you will never hear inside of a traditional medical office. And that is not, as we talked about at the beginning of this episode, that is not to knock normal, traditional Western medicine. It is just to say we have this perception in America that if you're in the medical field, it is gospel fact. There is no alternative. Nothing else works, and you are the be-all, end-all answer and the authority. And that is simply not the case. That is a position of pride, not a position of actually practicing medicine to help people. Plain and simple. You guys already know how to find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast, northgeorgialifepodcast@gmail.com. If you have suggestions for future episodes, places you love in your area, small businesses you want us to let other people know about that are doing amazing things in our community we call home, and We're on Amazon. We're on Audible. We're on Stitcher. I think we're probably on Pandora. If anybody still listens to Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, pretty much everywhere you listen to music, we are now on. So share this with your friends, your family members, your coworkers, and let's help everybody around us that we love and care about embrace life right where they live. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host. Today's episode, I think, is going to be both educational, fascinating, and hopefully extremely helpful for those of you who are looking for help in the way of how you feel, how you function, and have maybe run into some dead ends in the routes you have pursued via traditional medicine. And this is not an episode to knock all forms of traditional medicine or anything related to that. If I get hit by a bus, please do not come and rub essential oils on me. Take me to the emergency room. So we are with Dr. Hyatt at the Wellness Way in Suwanee, Georgia. And as a means of kind of getting started, because we've been on this journey through what I would say is the non-traditional medical route for several years now, really kind of started when our 2-year-old at the time was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And there's phenomenal pediatricians everywhere, but they are not trained by and large to help people with different needs like that. And so we started doing more and more research, and we kept hearing and seeing the same things, which were alternative forms of healing and help in the medical and frankly just helping your body recover from the different things that our bodies are exposed to here in the United States. And the way I've kind of described this to people who are either new, my wife and I talk to a lot of parents who just got the diagnosis or have different things with their own health. And I share with them like this. Our bodies have like these, if you think about a car, our bodies have mechanics that are all over different components and systems in our body. What our bodies a lot of times lack are the raw materials, or sometimes the raw materials are bottlenecked in different places in our bodies, and they can't get to the mechanics. And so you just figure if you brought your car in, you've got a couple things going on with your car, and you know your car has a problem, and your mechanic can't get oil, or doesn't have the right size wrench, or things like that, you can understand how you could keep going back to the same mechanic and having the same problem not get fixed because you're not getting the raw materials to that helper in your own system to be able to make your car run smoothly. Well, our bodies are obviously way more complicated than that, and the experience that I have had and a lot of people have had when you are going to traditional medical, whether it's a specialist like a dermatologist or someone like that, or just a general medical doctor, a family practitioner, is a lot of the prescriptions and the things that are being given to you are to try and mask the symptoms or treat the symptoms, not necessarily address the underlying root cause. And that is something that I think a lot of us really want, and we just don't know how to get there. So, Dr. Hyatt, thanks for your time. I know your time is valuable. You're from where?
I'm from West Texas.
West Texas.
And southeastern New Mexico. I was raised in Roswell, New Mexico, which
Okay.
explains a lot, coming from the aliens and what have you. And my parents bought a business, and I finished my high school up in Midland, Texas.
Okay. And your wife is your partner here in the practice as well?
She is.
And you guys met at school?
We met at school, and she's from upstate New York.
Okay.
And she had always been into equestrian. She did hunter jumper, traveled all over the world doing that.
Wow.
Competed collegiately at Sweetbriar College in Virginia, and then decided she had a horse accident, and chiropractic had really gotten her back on her feet and devoted her life to it, and that's why she chose it as a career.
Wow. For you, so that makes sense for her. For you, what is there anything from your growing up, from your background, that connected you with this form of medicine?
Well, as a child, I was a deviant. And yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but if you meet me very long, you'll know I've got a kind of a strange personality sometimes. But I would have been diagnosed as autistic. About third grade, the teacher talked to my parents and said, this child's not that he's stupid, he's just not getting the information that we need. And so I tell people that I like third grade so much I went through it twice. But I learned how to bluff my way through. And I was dyslexic. I was blind in my left eye. I had severe hearing disabilities. And so I didn't learn the way that most people do. And matter of fact, going into graduate school, going into chiropractic school, I had a third grade reading level. But through God's help, I was able to get through. And then I've been spending the last 25 years detoxifying my body and getting my body to a state of health that I'm able to function. But to this day, I still have issues with how my neurology works because I just don't think like other people. And from the heavy metal toxicity issues, from the toxins that were put into my body because of the vaccinations, as well as foods that I was eating and chemical components, not only from external, but also from the food. And by clearing that up, my body was able to heal because it was in a state of dis-ease. And so disease is nothing more. We're not designed to have disease. Right. It's just the word actually means that your body's not functioning with ease the way God intended it to.
So let's go into your practice, because you have a number of different things that you ways you treat people here, which is I don't want to say it's a one-stop shop, but it's pretty close. Yeah. So take us through some of those things that you do here, and frankly, why you've integrated those into your practice.
Well, we basically function off the chiropractic philosophy. And most people think chiropractic is just pain doctors or bone doctors. We're actually nerve doctors. But the chiropractic philosophy deals with trauma. That's what we deal with, the trauma to the spine or the nervous system. But we also deal with toxins, and that's the chemical components that we have to deal with from an everyday environment that we're in. And then we also deal with the thoughts. So trauma, toxins, and thoughts are the things that we deal with. And so rather than looking at the tree, we step back and look at the whole forest of how the body's looking at it. We're not looking into a specialized thing to manipulate the body. We're looking to restore the body. And so it's a lifestyle. So we want to come in it from that standpoint of changing somebody's lifestyle so that they live a healthy lifestyle the rest of their life.
And you've got chiropractic here.
We do chiropractic. We do a lot of nutritional work through both food as well as detoxification through the body. So we test everything. We run tests on hormones. We run tests on the immune system. A lot of the tests that we run. One of the ones I use for immune system, they only use for HIV patients, but it has an effect on your immune system. It doesn't matter what the virus is; it's still going to affect the body the exact same way.
Right.
So we can test that and just see how it is. That for the COVID right now, it's not a worry for me because I know my immune system's functioning. I've been tested. I know what's going on. I know my body can fight that off. I have my own mask. I have my own barriers that protect me. And so my health is in a state where I know it's going to be okay. We do stool tests. We do food tests to find out what's causing an immunological response, an allergic response, antibodies. And so we can find out exactly what patients can and cannot eat. And one of the biggest things I find with autistic kids or even cancer, they're eating foods that are actually good foods, cruciferous vegetables. Eggs is a big one that we see that patients, when they eat it, it throws an immunological response, throws off antibodies, and it's actually making them sick. So we'll test from that standpoint. We do a lot of thyroid work. I have several patients that have been diagnosed with cancer. I'm not treating their cancer, I'm treating their body.
Right.
And their body is able to heal from that standpoint.
Yeah. I probably need to keep track because I know the number is going to grow over the years. The doctor that we take our soon-to-be 4-year-old to is an MD. She's a doctor, but she treats her patients very much the same way you do. One of her, I won't say claims to fame, but validates what she does and how she does it, is she was able to heal herself from cancer.
Right.
And it was not through chemo. It was not through radiation. It was vitamin, mineral supplements, just things like that. And when she described it to us, and she was probably the third or fourth person that I had heard the same thing from, and one of the biggest things that they all say, which I've shared this with several people that I don't say in that phase of treating cancer, but either know someone or have questionable health is sugar.
Without a doubt.
And everybody says, get off sugar. It is like pouring fertilizer on your cancer by consuming sugar, which is in everything, not everything, but so many different things that we have, and it's inflammatory.
Yes.
It basically, they have said it is basically like fertilizing the cancer in your body, and when the inflammation takes place, it further reduces your body's ability to use its energy to fight off that, because it's working on this inflammation. And when the sugar goes away, it is like you sending in this Navy SEAL force that is now fighting the cancer and doing what it's supposed to, because you've taken away the thing that has been crippling it. And you don't hear that from any oncologist clinics.
No, not at all. Matter of fact,
which is striking to me.
If you go into the hospital and they're treating cancer patients, look at what the hospital's feeding them. And just like you said, it's plain sugar.
Yeah.
And at the turn of the 1900s, the average family of 4 ate about 5 pounds of sugar a year. In 2020, the average individual eats somewhere around 176 pounds of sugar a year. That's just one individual.
Wow.
And you know, we have the best technology, we have the best advancements in medicine, but what keeps going up every year? Heart disease, cancer, diabetes. And sugar. Matter of fact, I tell women all the time, if you want to kill your husband, just feed him sugar, because it kills our testosterone, it kills our drive, it kills everything about it. And just to show you, I'm an equal opportunity offender. If you want to kill your wife, just stress her out, because it kills all her hormones. And that's where we see a lot of the symptomatology arise from.
Your comment earlier about the toxins, that's something that we didn't realize, again, until we kind of went the way of non-traditional medical testing. And I would imagine most, maybe not most, but a lot of people that you see here as patients, they have exhausted other routes of traditional medicine. They're coming here as maybe a last resort, or a friend recommended them. And what we found, which I'm certain is probably what your patients find as well, is when it's explained to you the how and the why of what hasn't worked and why it hasn't worked, and what you do and why it does work, it makes perfect sense. And honestly, it kind of made us a little angry that we had gone through so much struggle, and this information is there, but it is, dare I say, frowned upon in some communities. But one of the things that we had our soon to be 4-year-old tested for was the toxins. And I can't remember the number, but his glyphosate level, which is Roundup, that's the brand name of Roundup, our doctor said, she said it was the highest level she's ever seen in someone that small.
Yeah.
And basically when she found that and saw that, and it was like, our treatment needs to be predominantly on getting that out of his body, because, I mean, you don't have to be a botanist to know the Roundup is designed to kill plants. If you don't know, your body has a lot of those same organisms inside of it, and what happens when you introduce that same poison to those things inside of it? It kills it. That's what it's designed to do.
Without a doubt. And as the neurology is formed when the baby's in the womb, if the mother has it, then it's going to be magnified in the baby, even more so. And so they're already coming out toxic when they're born. And then we start adding other chemicals into their body, and it's just like an atomic bomb going off in their little bodies.
Yeah.
And their neurology and their systems just cannot handle it.
Yeah. I won't get into the full scope of the vaccine conversation, because that's a whole podcast for a different thing. But for those of you who you just kind of maybe rolled your eyes, or just kind of got a look of confusion when that was mentioned earlier. So just as a point of conversation, I happened to meet a few years ago, actually I think it was about 1.5 years ago now, one of the founders or creators, if you will, of Emergency, the product you see next to Airborne in the grocery stores and stuff like that. He was a real estate client of mine, and he had been in this realm of vitamin supplementation and has worked in three different biopharmaceutical type things, but not pharmaceutical companies, things that are in that vitamin mineral supplement kind of realm. And a couple things he shared with me. One, he still takes an emergency every day, hasn't been sick for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And started describing to me all of the things that vitamin C does for your body that I'd never known, never heard of. You just think, vitamin C is good for you. You take it when, at halftime in your soccer match, it's supposed to do something magical. And then, and really, he kind of led the conversation into our history and our vaccination schedule with our almost 4-year-old. And it's not the same for everyone. That's, of course, but kind of identified a couple things which in our conversation, which was he's only had, I think, 2 vaccines, perfectly healthy, 60-some-year-old. And, we get in some conversations from time to time with people in our friend group. And the thing that I kind of tell everybody is, look, and they say there's no research to validate what you're saying. And I said, okay, can I promise you something? There will never be research.
That's exactly
who is funding the research. And I tell our kids this, like, whenever you hear something, always think, who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose? Where's the money? Because the same reason that the oncologist clinics are feeding the cancer patients sugar, look at who's sponsoring those organizations and those sorts of things. And just, it's a sad state of our world that money can override people's health and well-being, but it is happening every day all over the place.
Exactly. Well, the CDC owns over 25 patents on the vaccines. And if you'll notice your well baby checkups, what do they coincide with? Your vaccine schedule.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that's a whole different conversation in and of itself. But I always ask patients, I said, tell me what your favorite ingredient in a vaccine is and tell me how it boosts the immune system.
No idea.
So, when you take things like formaldehyde, thimerosal, which is 50% methyl mercury, the second most toxic substance on planet Earth, you can take aborted fetal tissue or egg tissue, chicken albumin, or rat tissue or rabbit tissue or other tissue that they use in there. And you just show me how all that coincides and how it's going to boost an immune system. It's not, and then going back to the COVID thing, I always think, people are so busy wearing masks that they're scared of a virus that they're all waiting to stand in line for so that they can inject it into their body. Yeah. Now, when you think about it from that standpoint, it makes perfect sense of what are we doing to our body and how is it affecting ourselves? Yeah. And it's just...
Yeah, and when we started that route, because we had no cognition that there was anything wrong or off or should be questioning anything with the vaccine schedule. But for us, it was between his 12-month checkup and about month 15, 16, he lost everything.
Yeah,
he had hit every milestone. He could dribble a soccer ball down the hallway, babbling, beating on a drum, and within 3 to 5 months, lost everything.
Yeah.
And not everybody is that scenario, but we're a normal American family going through our normal day to day, eating, processed sugar and processed flour and all that stuff. And then we just had to make some hard decisions. And I still remember when we were sitting in our kitchen thinking, okay, we're going to give this, gluten-free, dairy-free thing a try. And I share this with people probably about once a month or once every other month. Within about 2-3 days, we saw his body detoxing. And we literally looked at each other and were like, what is he detoxing from? Mm-hmm. He's just eating normal food. We're not giving anything weird. By week 2, week 3, like he was laughing for the first time. Not being tickled laugh, like his brain was understanding funny in the first realm, and we were like, okay, we're on to something here, and we continue to go down the path. And then we had some folks that had mentioned the vaccine thing to us, and the disturbing thing of all things to me in the process of learning and going down that road is exactly what you said with the ingredients. there's no ingredients. Your pediatrician is in it for the right reason, but they don't know what's in the vaccines. Mm-hmm. And whenever you have something that is being, quote, mandated, that is being introduced to your body, you and I mean, that's why you've got the ingredients on your box of, Fruit Loops. But you don't have that on something like this. And if nothing else, for those of you who are not on board with this train of thought, that should make you question and wonder why. To me, that's the biggest tell of why is there not a list of ingredients? Why does our pediatrician not know that? Because they should have a right to. And then it's your choice. For the time being, it's a free country to make that decision.
That's exactly right. Well, and you were talking about he was fine up until a point. Well, what happens is the body is always adapting to your environment. And it got up to a point where the toxicity levels got so high he could no longer adapt. And it met a threshold, and that's when disease is. And that's not just with autism, but that's with every disease process out there. As long as you're able to adapt to your environment, your body can still heal. Mm-hmm. It's when your body stops adapting, that's when disease and adaptive physiology starts taking place.
Yeah. You've been practicing this for over 20 years.
We've been doing this for 24 years now.
So just a couple patients that you could, kind of point to when you're having rough days, long days, and you think back to these people when they first came in and where they're at now. Can you share with us just a few?
Yeah, I mean, one of my greatest enjoyments is working with kids. I had a lady come to me about 3 years ago, and beautiful family. She got 3 kids. They're doing great. But she came to me and she said, "My hormones, I know something's not right." And so I started working with her, and just wasn't getting the results I found out. And so, come to find out, after working with her, she failed to tell me after several months that she had a hormone disruptor with an IUD. And so we were trying to balance her hormones, and she had something in her body that was disrupting her hormones. And so we were working against each other. She was frustrated, I was frustrated. We had that removed, and lo and behold, her hormones really started balancing out beautifully. Mm-hmm. And come up, and then last fall, she got pregnant. Now, her oldest son, just so you know, her oldest son is 17 years old. Mm-hmm. Her daughter's 15, and her other son's 11. But at the same time, unfortunately, her mother had been diagnosed with cancer. And she really thought that her mom would be around. And mom was doing great on treatment, and then in May, just took a turn for the worst, and within a week, she unfortunately passed away. But she told me the other day that because of the baby, really it was a God-given gift that she was able to get through the grieving process and still have that special connection with her mother, even though her mother was never a part of Callan's life. And I've been able to adjust the baby several times now, doing great. She's doing great. And it's a beautiful story in the sense of how God operates in our health and how the life cycle just works. So,
if someone is listening to this, and let's say they're maybe in the younger phase of life, thinking about becoming a nurse or a physician of some sort, or has maybe been in the functional or the traditional medical side, and is equally frustrated that they're just not able to help people the way they would want to help people, might want to pursue some sort of non-traditional medicine, whether it's chiropractic, whether it's any of these other things that you do here. What advice would you give them? Where would you direct them to go to kind of start that process of pursuing that route?
Well, at the Wellness Way, we have the Wellness Way University.
Okay.
And so what we teach is the physiology, how the body works. And so we want to go at it from that standpoint. We have medical doctors, we have nurse practitioners, we have chiropractors, we have nutritionists. Health is something that we all want to attain, but very few people even know or can define what health is. And so we want to help from that standpoint. So they can contact us through that. We need good practitioners all over. We need great medical doctors, because if we're having an emergency type situation, they don't want me grabbing a knife and cutting their chest open if they're having a heart attack. I mean, I'm not trained in that. So we need good doctors all the way through. What we need to do is change the way we think. We need a different perspective so that we can start attaining the health that God actually desired us to have.
With all the things that you do here over the next 5-10 years, what would you like to see expand, grow, change?
Well, we're laying the groundwork because what I see, I mean, if you take women, for example, 25 to 40 years old, do you know what the number one killer in that age group for women is? It's autoimmune disease. And it is a storm cloud. I come from West Texas, and we used to have a front move in, and you could see it just rolling across the prairie. And, you know, the black thunder clouds and the lightning flashing out of it. I mean, if you've ever been in a tornado or anything like that, you understand what I'm talking about. That's what's happening in our healthcare system right now. We need people because we are under such assault. We've never been more sick than we are today as a society. And we have the best technology and we have the best medicine in the world. But yet we don't live healthy.
It is amazing to me, and when I share this with people, they kind of laugh because it's funny because it's true. Our society and culture was healthier when people were smoking on airplanes.
Yes.
Like, let that sink in. when pregnant moms were smoking, and you know nobody knew the full effects of you know alcohol and you know all those things. Our culture as a whole was far healthier than it is right now.
Yeah, well, it's because now we've got a lot of lobbyists that are putting junk and toxins in our food that we're consuming more on a daily. So that the assault of the toxicity into our bodies has never been higher than it is right now. And so those are the things that we have to fight against.
You've been here in the Suwannee. Do you live around the Suwannee area?
I've been in the Suwannee area, like I said, we've been here 24 years.
Okay.
We actually live in Buford.
Okay.
And but have been in and around the Suwannee area for that long.
What are some of your favorite places to go, places to eat? Anything you love around our area?
From a healthy standpoint, I love Tzatziki's over on Old Peachtree Road.
Yep.
Because one of the cleanest meats that we can eat is lamb, and the fat ratio is omega-6s to omega-3s is a 4-to-1 ratio, and so I can get a good meal there. I like Seasons 52. My wife really likes that place. You know, really any of the areas around here, I enjoy going to the Mall of Georgia and just sitting in their amphitheater, or over to Sugar Hill and sitting in their amphitheater and walking around there. Gwinnett County is absolutely amazing in their parks and recreation. We got the lake, we've got the Chattahoochee that we canoe down, kayak down. There's so much to do and get out. We got the North Georgia Mountains just a mile up the road. We got Lake Lanier. There's so many beautiful things around here to just get out and enjoy God's creation in this beautiful area that we live in.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, it's something I do in every episode. I call it Lightning Round, which is a question that usually has nothing to do with anything. But for today's conversation, I'm just going to call the title of our Lightning Round question, Dr. Documentary. So if you were to tell somebody 3 documentaries that they could find, whether it's on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, whatever, where they could watch those, get some good information and really understanding of some of the things that we've talked about, what would those be?
One of the ones I show a lot is Smoking Teeth. And people don't understand the metal mercury amalgams that they have in their mouth and how it's affecting their health. And so you can go to YouTube, just put in Smoking Teeth. It's about a 5-minute video of how the mercury just infiltrates into our body and is constantly toxining us up. Another movie that's really good that just shows you how toxic our food is the one on McDonald's, and I forget, I just went blank on the name of it, but
Super
Size Me.
Yeah.
And I have a McDonald's hamburger in my office that I show every single patient. I bought it in 2002. And it is still there. All my patients are going to know it. They've seen it. They laugh about it, and they can't believe that there's no mold on it at all.
18 years old.
18 years old, and it is just, I showed that, the reason I use that is it shows them the dangers of the hydrogenated oils that all the fast food restaurants use and how it toxifies our body up. The other things I do is just, we sit down and we just try to watch stories about people that have had success. And so as a family, I love watching success and success stories. And so that's one of the things that we do from that standpoint.
I'm trying to remember. There was one, I think it was called The Magic Pill. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
I don't. Over the last year and a half, we've probably watched, I don't know, 12, 15 different ones. I think that one was one of the more eye-opening ones for us, because it was 4 or 5 patients, people, families that were experiencing just vastly different things. And in the focus of the documentary, if I'm thinking of the right one, I should have checked on this, but was they were basically going to a whole food type diet, paleo type diet, and one of the people, she was on like 8 or 10 different prescriptions. By the end of whatever I can't remember the time period, a couple months, she was off all of them.
Wow!
Just by changing her diet.
That's fantastic, because again, we're not trying to manipulate their health; we're trying to restore it, and that's what whole food does. That's what God gave us for. What we put in is going to help us heal.
How do people find you? How do people get connected? If they've got questions, who do they call? How can they get answers?
Well, you can find us on the internet at thewellnessway.com. We have clinics literally all over the world.
Okay.
We have, but several in the United States. We have 2 right here in the Atlanta area, one over in Ackworth, and then mine right here in Suwanee. So thewellnessway.com, you can find us there. You can find us on Facebook at Hyatt Holistic Health, a Wellness Way affiliate, or Wellness Way Suwanee.
Okay.
And they can get us there. Our numbers, we've had the same number since we've been in business, 770-237-3300.
Okay.
And, if they have questions, we're always here, and we're always willing to help people out.
Awesome. Well, I know you got to get back to work, so with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. Thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.